With the PlayStation Store running a bunch of sales right now, I want to take a look at 10 of the best deals available. I've covered these sales with the PlayStation VR sale, the Warner Brothers Publisher sale, as well as the Games of a Generation sale quite in depth, but in today's video, I'm taking all the shackles off. We're looking at games across all price ranges, so we can look at everything available. I already did one video taking a look at some of the deals on Games of a Generation. I looked at some deals under the price of $10 not too long ago, so check those out if you've yet to. But today, again, we're removing all the shackles and we are taking a look at games across all prices. So without further ado, let's get right into it, and let's kick things off with the deals available as a part of the VR sale. I want to start things off with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Not a steep discount with this one, but it is 25% off for $14.99, and Resident Evil 7 is a fantastic game. If you talk about Resident Evil now, what are people usually talking about? They're probably going to be talking about the Resident Evil 2 remake, and rightfully so. That game is fantastic. However, go back and play Resident Evil 7 Biohazard as well, because it is a tremendous game. $15 right now, and if that doesn't sell you on it based on the fact that it's super cheap, there is also a free demo available, so you can have a look at that and see how you enjoy that. Resident Evil 7 did a really good job of bringing back the fear and invoking that element of horror that Resident Evil had been missing a long time with Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, but RE7 does a great job in bringing that back. And if you do have the PlayStation VR headset, that adds another layer to the experience. You don't need it, but the VR headset accentuates the game greatly, and, you know, a horror game and VR go hand in hand really well, and $15 for Resident Evil 7 is a great buy. Next up, we've got Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown. It is 50% off for $29.99. Ace Combat 7 is a fantastic game that I think when this year wraps up, hardly anyone is going to be talking about it in regards to the best games of the year, but Ace Combat 7 I still think holds up as one of the best action games of the year. Of course, in the sense of an action flight game, it is really well done, high octane action, great music in this one as well. The story's a little bit zany and over the top, but at the same time, you're not going into Ace Combat for exhilarating and captivating storytelling. You're going in there for the gameplay, and Ace Combat 7 has that in spades. In the case of the VR content, it's nothing to write home about. However, I think most of you guys just want to get into this game to play it as the traditional Ace Combat experience, and that is fantastic. $29.99 is still a little bit of a hefty price point, but I would still say it's pretty good. Alright, so those are the two deals that I wanted to mention from the VR sale. I do also want to mention the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Special Edition, which is 60% off for $15.99. This is a great deal on Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, but I imagine the majority of you guys have played this in some form, so if you want a different kind of experience, and if you do have PlayStation VR, going back to the VR sale for a second, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim VR is 64% off, and it's $21.59. So if you want the traditional Skyrim experience, you can get that for $16. If you want the VR experience, you can get that for $21.59. Would it be great if the VR was just an update to traditional Skyrim? Yeah, but we can't have a nice thing, so it is what it is as far as that's concerned. You really can't go wrong with Skyrim. It is a fantastic open world RPG, and the special edition, of course, comes packed with all of the additional content, so you can spend an obscene amount of time with it. As far as the VR version of Skyrim goes, it is fantastic as well. It really immerses you into the experience, and when you see a dragon in Skyrim in VR, you could just imagine how cool that's gonna be. So with all of that, whether you pick up Skyrim Special Edition or Skyrim VR, you are in for a lot of hours of gameplay and a really good time with those. Alright, next up, I do want to give a shout to No Man's Sky, which is 50% off for $24.99. No Man's Sky, of course, was released all the way back in 2016, and when it initially came out, it was a train wreck of an experience, but over the course of the last 3+ years, it has made a lot of progress. A lot of updates have been introduced to No Man's Sky, and it has become a much better game. From a content standpoint, a gameplay standpoint, it has just made massive improvements, and given the fact that initially when they came out in 2016, you were paying $60, now you're paying $24.99 after that 50% off discount. It is a steal, and of course, there's another game that they've added PlayStation VR support with, and this is one of the best VR experiences that you can find. If you play it in the traditional way, it's still good that way, and for $25, if you've been chomping at the bit to check out No Man's Sky, now is a great time to do so. Alright, here's one that some of you guys might meme on me for, but the Order 1886 is 50% off for $9.99. I've seen the Order 1886 as low as $4.99 as a part of a sale before, so $9.99 isn't the best price, but I still want to give it a recommendation. Now, Going back to 2015, Order 1886 was not one of those games that was received really well. Quite the contrary, as a $59.99 release and a, 5 to 6 hour long game, it wasn't the best game in the world. It's not like the gameplay was anything to write home about as well. However, from a visual standpoint, a lore standpoint, and a story standpoint, I thought the Order 1886 had some very, very interesting elements, and I thought it was a rather well done game from a production standpoint. For $9.99, I do think it's a great buy, and I think those that go back and play the Order 1886, maybe you just completely passed up on it, maybe you got your PS4 later, and it was just a game you heard kind of negative things about, so you just passed on it altogether. I would say go back and give it a look for 10 bucks. You might have some fun with it, and you'll think the game is rather interesting. Usually when I talk to people and they go back and play the Order 1886, at that point they're like, man, I wish they made an Order 1887 or a follow-up to the Order 1886, because there is a lot of potential with the storytelling in this game. Unfortunately, I highly doubt we're ever gonna see that, but nonetheless, for $9.99, Order 1886 is quite a good game. Next up, okay, so you go from an exclusive of lesser quality to an exclusive in the highest regards. Marvel Spider-Man Game of the Year Edition is 20% off, and it is down to $32. Marvel Spider-Man, from a commercial standpoint, is the most successful PlayStation exclusive of all time, and from a quality standpoint, it is pretty damn good as well. It is a fantastic open-world game that does have some issues here and there, but Insomniac did a phenomenal job with translating Spider-Man into an open-world gaming experience, and now you can get the Game of the Year Edition for $32. This, of course, includes the base game as well as the DLC content, which is pretty good. All of that for 32 bucks, I would say, is a great buy. I imagine the majority of you guys already have Spider-Man, but if you don't, do yourself a favor and pick it up. Alright, moving on from that, I do want to mention a couple of deals from the Warner Brothers publisher sale. First of all, Mortal Kombat 11, 40% off for $36. This is a really good deal on MK11, which was a game that had a little bit of controversy at launch, and I definitely complained about it quite a bit. It was way too grindy. The microtransactions were not my cup of tea, but a lot of that has been remedied since then. And fundamentally, as a fighting game, Mortal Kombat 11 is very good. The visuals are stunning. The gameplay is as visceral as ever. Even if you're not the biggest fan of fighting games, there's a lot of high quality content in here to get you invested, and you can have a ton of fun with it. Now, it is $36. However, I do want to mention that the Mortal Kombat 11 Premium Edition can be had for $54. If you pick up the Premium Edition, essentially you end up getting the Combat Pack for $18, which is a pretty good deal. I'm not a big fan of these fighting games having so much DLC content, just an obscene amount of DLC. However, I guess that's just something we have to expect in gaming these days, and you know what? If you want to get into Mortal Kombat 11, having the Combat Pack is not bad, so $54 for the Premium Edition, I would say, is relatively decent. Next up, I also want to give a shout to Hitman 2, 65% off for $21. It's unfortunate that Hitman has fallen off from a commercial standpoint so hard. I think it's because Hitman 2016 had this episodic release pattern and people just did not dig it all too much. In the case of Hitman 2, it is a fantastic follow-up to the 2016 game, and in this case, it isn't a episodic game. It does have some DLC, however, the base game with Hitman 2 offers a lot of quality content, and if you want a high-quality stealth action title, you definitely get that out of Hitman 2. Great visuals in here as well, and from a gameplay standpoint, it's just really, really well done, so highly recommend Hitman 2, and for it being down to $21, it is a great buy right now. Next up, we have Middleearth Shadow of War, which is 60% off for $19.99. Shadow of War is one of those games that was really well done, had some microtransaction controversy initially, but Monolith went back and remedied all of that, and now the game you get is just from top to bottom a really, really well done game. There is a free demo available, so if you're not sold on it with the $19.99 price point, you can check that out. There is also the Gold Edition or the Premium Edition, whatever they call it, for $29.99. You can check that out if you want, but high quality gameplay here, and if you already played Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War is a quality follow-up, and for $19.99, definitely worth it. And lastly, I do want to mention one final deal going back to the PlayStation VR sale. Rez Infinite is 60% off for $11.99. This one has a very good VR component, but you can also play it with traditional controls. It's a ground-up remake of Rez, which was on the PlayStation 2, and it's remastered and upgraded by members of the original development team. You can experience the game's 360 degrees of mind-blowing gameplay as you blast blast through waves of enemies and massive transforming bosses with colors and sounds that sync and blend to the beat of Rez's legendary techno soundtrack. Yes, the soundtrack is phenomenal, and for $11.99, I definitely would give that a buy. So that's gonna conclude this video. I think this is gonna be our final video covering all of these sales. Games of a Generation sale ends Tuesday. That's why I wanted to get this video out. The other sales are gonna persist for a little bit longer, so if there's anything else that I noticed that I think is worth mentioning, I'll make a video, but I think I've covered all the ground that I've wanted to. So that's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.